Gladiator remains one of the most influential and popular movies of the 21st century. The titular character, Maximus Decimus Meridius, is fantasized over by adoring women all over the world. So we're going to find out, why do women love this character so much? Is there anything we can learn from the movie to apply to our own game? So let's get started. He appears to be based on a combination of historical figures. Narcissus, Commodus's real-life murderer and the character's name in the first draft of the screenplay. Spartacus, who led a significant slave revolt in 73 to 71 BC. Cincinnatus, 519 to 430 BC, a farmer who was made dictator, saved Rome from invasion and then resigned his 6-month appointment after 15 days. And Marcus Nonius Macrinus, a trusted general and consul in 154 AD and friend of Marcus Aurelius. Now, the scriptwriters seem to have taken personality aspects from all 4 of these figures to conjure up Maximus' character in the movie. The fighting prowess of Narcissus, the subversiveness of Spartacus, and the reluctance to lead from Cincinnatus, and so on. So let's move on to his physical appearance in the movie. Now obviously Russell Crowe is a movie star with spectacularly handsome movie star facial features, which only a fraction of us will ever hope to replicate. But the word that jumps to mind when you look at Maximus is masculine. For all of us men with less fortunate facial features, we can all aim to become more masculine. A physical set of traits that appeals universally to all women. And so why is he masculine? Look at the hairstyle. Short, no nonsense, brushed forward. Incidentally, a very popular choice for men who are balding. The beard. Short, clipped and dark. This is a look that favours virtually every man, especially men over 35. He's not particularly lean in the movie, probably for 2 reasons. Number 1, Russell Crowe is infamous for weight problems and struggles to lean out for movie roles. Number 2, gladiators did not care about a six-pack and were concerned instead with function, athleticism and strength. They kept a layer of fat to help cushion themselves from knives and other stabbing weapons. When your layer of fat might mean the difference between life and death, you're going to stop starving yourself to get those six-pack abs. Now we can apply this for ourselves in the modern world of 2022. As a dating coach, I've travelled to some of the top places in the world to meet the world's most beautiful women, and Russian and Eastern European women in particular adore this kind of masculine look where the emphasis is on function and practicality. So the takeaway is to get strong and athletic like Maximus, but just forget about six-pack abs. They're not necessary and are actually a detriment to your overall appeal. Think about practicality instead and you'll be on your way towards a masculine look. Now let's pause for a second and compare Maximus with his antagonist Commodus in the movie. Maximus is an actual warrior who engages in real-life combat with the most fearsome warriors that existed at that time. Commodus LARPs as a warrior, prancing around half naked with soldiers who are deliberately holding back and won't hurt him. Now both have muscle, both are good-looking men, but Maximus is masculine. Commodus is feminine in his physicality. You can even see this in the way they move, particularly exemplified by their battle scene towards the end of the movie, despite the fact that Commodus has already stabbed Maximus to slow him down and make him a less efficient killer. Now Maximus Meridius is a true leader of men. His leadership qualities are not based on fear of reprisal, but are derived from his own personal power. Right from the beginning of the movie, we can see that he doesn't ask his men to do anything he won't do himself. Unlike modern politicians and cowards of every stripe we see in today's times, Maximus is a character who gets his hands dirty, and his men love him for it. He is recognised to be not only the best general, but also the most capable warrior. Not only does he lead by example, but he clearly loves his soldiers. You see this at the beginning of the movie. As the emissary is sent out to talk with the Germanic troops, Maximus wants to know what's happened to him, before we find out soon enough that he's been beheaded. There are also numerous scenes of him talking with and showing affection to his soldiers throughout the movie. Now, being a true leader appeals to women. Maximus is the ultimate alpha male in the movie, minus the excessive sex with lots of different women, being devoted to his wife. A real alpha has the ability to inspire devotion and loyalty in other men, regardless of their initial lack of power or status. Now, when you consider Maximus's character arc, from the second or third most powerful person in the world at the beginning of the movie, to a slave, and once again as one of the most powerful men in the world at the end, you will see that he has a magnetic presence that compels other men to follow. Now Maximus is first and foremost a warrior. Now we see this trait time and again in the movie, from the very first scenes where he battles the oversized Germanic barbarians, through the Gladiator scenes, right to the end of the movie where he goes one-on-one against Commodus. Now we've discussed his physical prowess and ability in battle, but it's his mindset about death that makes him truly stand out. Right at the beginning of the movie he makes a joke about it. If you find yourself alone riding in green fields with the sun in your face, do not be troubled, for you are in Elysium and you're already dead. Now we see this contempt towards death towards the end of the movie when Maximus is about to fight Commodus. I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back. Maximus couldn't have been born with this mindset. He must have learned it under the tutelage of Marcus Aurelius and honed and refined it after countless life or death battles. Can you imagine how attractive this courage is to a woman? It's quite likely he reminded himself of his lack of fear by reading the Bible, and it's hinted throughout the movie that Maximus is a Christian. Recall this passage from the Bible. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. Now in modern times we don't need to fight enemies on the field of battle like Maximus and face death every day, but we can face our fears. And what better way than face your fear of approaching a woman you're attracted to in real life? Only by building this courage can we truly know fear. Face it and finally smile back at it when it smiles at us. Now Maximus and Lucilla don't meet often in the movie, but when they do, it's obvious that Lucilla pines after Maximus with all her heart. We can only imagine that other women that meet Maximus must do this too. Now aside from the characteristics we've already mentioned, one of Maximus's prized assets is that he genuinely doesn't care about the wants and opinions of other women. For him, there is only his wife. He's clearly a man's man through and through. Though it's obvious he could be a ladies' man if he wanted to be. In their first meeting, Lucilla makes it quite clear she loves Maximus, but he pushes her away with disdain because of her familiarity and ease of lying. I never acquired your comfort with it. Now to put this into perspective, Lucilla was a hot and highly desirable woman. Now Maximus's advantage here is twofold. He is fiercely loyal to his wife, but beyond this you have the sense that women are not his calling card. His mission is to his wife and his son, his soldiers, and at a more abstract level a devotion to civilization. Note how passionately he defends the time the Roman army has spent when talking with Marcus Aurelius. I've seen much of the rest of the world. It is brutal and cruel and dark. Rome is the light. He is clearly a man that values the good, the true and the beautiful. When you see men whose entire lives are devoted to chasing women, you can tell there is something missing. It's as if they value nothing and care about nothing. Ultimately, Maximus represents probably the only man in the world who Lucilla cannot have. He's not faking this behaviour, he just reacts naturally based on his principles and personality. Now let's just contrast this briefly with Commodus, who clearly simps after Lucilla right from their first scene together. The small clip where he asks for a kiss tells us all we need to know about the relationship between Commodus and Lucilla. Now another reason why Lucilla falls for Maximus is the contrast between the dandified, scheming, degenerate men she would see in her day-to-day life and Maximus. The men she meets are Commodus, her simping brother who fawns after her, and the politicians in the Roman Senate. It quickly becomes clear she is surrounded by degenerate men. There is reference made to young boys and girls who scheme and backstab for personal gain. By contrast, Maximus has strong principles and looks to care for others, both his family, his soldiers, and ultimately for Rome. Once again, this is what a true alpha male does. A true alpha is actually a servant more than a master, but in serving he accrues enormous personal and status-driven power. When you combine his noble characteristics with his disdain for Lucilla, it's easy to see why she would quickly fall for him. Now Maximus is a simple, humble man who doesn't desire for riches, fame or glory. He shares this quality with Marcus Aurelius, at that time the most powerful man in the world by far. Note when Maximus describes his home, he talks about its simplicity, its functionality. He talks about the fruits that grow there, and that it's a very simple place. Marcus Aurelius agrees, stating, "I envy you. It is a good home, worth fighting for." One suspects that these are not idle words by the great emperor, but an honest truth. Might it be also that Lucilla yearns for this simple life, as well as her father? There is a lot we can learn from Maximus Meridius. Though we cannot translate much of it directly to a modern setting, who would want to face death on the battlefield daily, we can still attempt to learn from his courage, his principles and his mission in life. I've been teaching men all over the world how to approach and attract women for the last 10 years. And to learn these skills, you won't need to enter the Gladiator ring and risk death. Just go to stevejabber.com or click the link below this video to sign up.